As a beekeeper and enthusiast, I was blown away when I heard about 4RBs a little over a month ago via Jaciel, created to heal. Today, we're so excited to introduce you to them. Our guest, Brent Knudsen, a visionary leader who saw early on that math, quantum physics, and frequencies would shape the future. After building and selling one of Canada's largest payment process companies, he turned his focus to his true passion, exploring how sacred geometry and quantum energy can help heal people and the planet. Today, as founder and CEO of 4RBs, Brent is leading a global mission to protect pollinators, restore balance to nature, and bring quantum wellness technology to the world. Welcome to the show, Brent Knudsen.
Welcome, Brent. Brent, we're so excited to have you here. I want to know, tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to found 4RBs.
Yeah, well, were two unrelated things. My background had nothing to do with the bees whatsoever. My background was really from FinTech, where I had came out of involved in forensic mathematics to do with banking, which was in the early days. Everything we do with banking about debit and credit and moving money around was we were designing that in the late 80s and 90s. And in Canada, where I'm from, I was putting together those algorithms for debit and credit machines in those days. And so my background is really mathematical systems, but also formulas. And that's what really led me into sacred geometry, because I was dealing with all these structures and these principles, which are all mathematic. And so I was doing that in my career, but it led me very much so into nature and how all that math and that construct was in sacred geometry. So that is where I came from, and my career was going through that, and we built up a very boutiquing, larging banking company here in Canada called Tangerine, and that's quite well known here in Canada. I was very fortunate in the late 2008 that was purchased by a larging banking institution called Goldman Sachs, and at the time I was in my early 50s, so I thought this is an excellent time to take my passion, my hobby, which was sacred geometry and the principles of how in nature all those symbols and in religions work. And I started to go into full time into research. What do they mean? What effects could they have, like in nature and with us? And so then I started in that full time, and I went into research for 5 years, built a facility for testing. I got completely into frequency medicines that I was introduced to at the time, which were cutting edge. And I heard in 2015 they came to me and said there's just tremendous bee loss that was so was not was not able to ignore anymore. And I was convinced to, well, what about, could some of these research and principles go into helping the bees? And so that's how that started. I started in 2015, over 10 years ago, and started at a core level going in and using, and we'll discuss it more, these magnetic frequencies and earth frequencies in geometric form as to how to affect the bees, but also us, humans, plants, reptiles, dogs and cats at a cellular level.
That is
Wow.
fascinating. I love that.
So you already knew about sacred geometry. How did that come about?
Because it was interesting, because it's typical, you find out is you trip into these things like by mistake. So when I was doing all of this, the math configurations to do with how to digitally move money and so forth, I kept bumping into, in those days, all these different shapes and constructs that were to do with geometry being the math. And I started to see it and going, this was reoccurring, and I was seeing these shapes and designs. Well, then I started to go, well, wait a minute. I started to see that that led to sort of what they called sacred geometry. So I started to study that as a hobby, but then I noticed it was everywhere. It was in every religion. It was in everything in nature, every snowflake. It was in every aspect of corporate identities. It was everywhere. So I knew this was something you really had to dive into and pay attention to, because It's even on law enforcement. That's why you've got stars on law enforcement everywhere. I mean, it's literally right in front of us. It's just I
Wow.
didn't know what I was looking at. And so that led me to go, well, wait a minute. Why is it in ancient? So why was it in Mesopotamia, then came in through Egypt, then went through Rome, right? Then went into the churches of Rome. It all is the same thing, which led to what we were really looking at was ourselves and biologically how these structures affect us, and it's tied directly into nature. And then it's based on frequency. So now that we all talk about frequency, which people do a lot now, wasn't so much then,
Right.
is that we now know that everything's a frequency. So then I learned through geometry that's how you can bend and change the frequency from one to the other, is simply by the geometry. And then it has a different effect. So it could have in radiation, it can have a negative effect. But in doing things where you're dealing with, let's say, pulse electric magnetic frequency or earth frequency, it has a very positive effect. So that fascinated me, and I went down to figuring which was which.
Wow.
Wow. I'm just like, this is so cool. This is right up my alley. I'm so excited that we're talking to you.
Yeah, it's more now mainstream. When I was doing it, people were looking like, like a deer in the headlight. What are you talking about? Like what is this, right?
We
But
have
for the
come a long
people
way
that
in terms of people understanding
Yeah.
what frequency is, and
Mhm.
I'm marveling at the, I'm sorry if I'm jumping the gun, but I'm marveling at your backdrop behind you, your banner there, and the cell at your shoulder, because that looks like,
Yeah.
cells in formation of our body, the
And
flower of life.
No, excellent observation. And what we'll do for your audience, we'll show them a video that'll make this a lot more definitive and clear. But what it is when it got formulated down, you can see this looks a lot like the flower of life. You
Yeah.
get into the flower of life, but it's more than that. It has to be dead on accurate. And so this was the geometry. But then you go, well, how do you hold that geometry? So there's only a couple of things, and well, there's three ways you can do it. You can do it AC current wise. They use it in earth mats and so forth, where you do it electronically, or you do it, like you fabricate it. But a better way to do it is to use things like earth magnets. So you take very powerful earth magnets, pocket them in here, and what they do is they pull together and they'll take that geometry and hold it like this. And then what it does, it affects this. So what this is, everybody that's watching us, including all of us, all animals, all insects, when we start off as a one-celled object, that's the first thing we mitosis into. We go into that shape. It's the blueprint of what it is geometrically that we all form from. So it made sense to me. Why not feed back to that in the language it understands, which is the frequency it understands, which is the shape, right? So that's a simplistic way of saying it. But if you like, we can show that video whenever you're ready, and that will lead into a lot of what you're talking about, and then you can pick it up from there.
Awesome.
To truly understand the principles of this technology, we need to first examine where we come from, where we are now, and where we are going. Our ancient ancestors possessed a profound knowledge that we are only coming to understand today. Throughout human history, in every time period, in every culture, in every major religion, one geometric shape has continuously been present throughout the ages: the star tetrahedron. This perfectly aligned six-pointed star has been discovered in almost every religious culture in human history. It's been found in the architecture and decor of ancient Christian churches, Jewish synagogues, and Islamic mosques. It has also been found in ancient civilizations and cultures throughout Europe, Asia, Africa, and the Americas. However, with all its references in ancient texts and artwork, the star tetrahedron was not often used as an exclusive symbol to represent any one religion or culture. Historically, the star tetrahedron was regarded more as a divine diagram with the potential to connect us to a higher power. A broader example of the star tetrahedron can be found in another symbol revered by the ancients: the flower of life. The star tetrahedron's six-pointed geometric shape is very prominent within the flower of life pattern, where its shape multiplies infinitely within it. These shapes were revered by the ancients as the symbols of the creation of energy and frequency, the blueprint of all matter. But in reality, these ancient symbols are actually two-dimensional representations of a three-dimensional object, the atom. The atom is one of the most important scientific discoveries in quantum physics. It is regarded by science as the building block of all physical matter, energy, and frequency. The atom contains a nucleus, which is made up of protons and neutrons. Electrons, through electromagnetic force, orbit the nucleus. This combination of geometry, magnetism, and motion creates frequency. Everything that exists in the universe, from solid objects to living organisms, contains this exact atomic material. The core denominator that makes one object different from another object is frequency. Frequency is the catalytic force that dictates the design of all the structures of matter in the universe. The atomic symbol is an exact representation of these principles, and so was the star tetrahedron in ancient times. In fact, looking a little closer around the nucleus of the atomic symbol, we see a familiar shape, the star tetrahedron. This is no coincidence. And it's no coincidence that the star tetrahedron's geometric pattern aligns perfectly with the electromagnetic structure of the atom. The ancients knew what science has only discovered within the last 100 years, that everything that exists in the universe, including all of us, is merely a combination of energy, frequency, and vibration, and that we are all intrinsically connected by it. The star tetrahedron and the flower of life are the geometric blueprints of this profound architecture. Today, the star tetrahedron and the flower of life pattern can actually be seen on a microscopic level through mitosis, the process of cell division and the creation of life. Humans begin as a single cell. That cell then multiplies into two cells, and these two cells then multiply into four cells, in a multiplication pattern that continues trillions of times over until we are formed. When observed through a microscope, we can see that this growth pattern is literally mirrored by the pattern of the star tetrahedron and the flower of life symbols, giving us further evidence that these geometric patterns represent the creative power of all matter. Furthermore, within each one of us, there are over 100 trillion cells, and within each cell, there are over 100 trillion atoms, all releasing powerful quantum energy. The astronomical amount of atoms in the body, all simultaneously releasing these quantum frequencies throughout every cell, creates a massive accumulated frequency that surrounds and flows throughout the body. This vibrational force is known universally as the torus field, and it surrounds everything in nature, as well as our entire planet. The Earth's torus field can actually be observed in the aurora borealis. The torus energy within our bodies is designed to symphonize with nature and the Earth's torus field. Frequency connects us to nature and the Earth in ways we could never have imagined. Our torus field is responsible for maintaining our health from a cellular level. 10 to 20 billion cells die every day, and an equal amount of cells are replaced by the body. The difference between people who rebuild healthy cells versus unhealthy cells is determined by what we are exposed to within our environment. If we are exposed to the harmonious energy fields of the Earth and nature, our bodies will continuously rebuild healthy cells. But if we are exposed to unnatural, non-harmonious frequencies, our bodies will rebuild unhealthy cells. Harmonious frequencies are the keystones of our health and well-being. And the electromagnetic force of the star tetrahedron and the flower of life pattern creates these harmonious frequencies that we now know are essential for life.
So we are all connected, at risk of sounding super woo.
Yeah, literally all of us are absolutely connected. We're all made of the same thing, not just us, but everything around us, everything in matter. It's just by the frequency that it's designed, that it's operating at, that distinguishes the difference between it. So this is why, health-wise, we live in a world of what I call of chemistry. So we're in pharmaceuticals, but where we need to go is in physics, because We used to, if you remember, we used to do a thing called exploratory surgery. They used to cut you open to find out what was wrong with you. Well, what do they use now to diagnose? It's complete frequency medicine. It's
Yes.
MRIs, CAT scans, and so. But then when they go to treat, we're right back to chemical, right? Just boom, we're back into pharmacy. So all we got to do is merge these two, right? Because physics is where it's going to be at. Not chemistry. The body relates to physics. Chemistry is why you have so many side effects, because
Yes.
it's not that it didn't do a job, but the body doesn't know how to relate and so forth, because it's not tied into nature. That's why it's separate from it, right? Just like we're communicating right now with incredible algorithms that allow us to communicate, and with the 5G and frequency, but the cells don't like it. It's not good for us
No.
health-wise, really good for communicating though. So that's giving you a pure example of why something could be really good one way and not so good another, just on the frequency.
Yeah. So on that then, Brent, like why the bees? How did you tie your passion for geometry, sacred geometry, and come to find Jake Cunningham, your co-founder of 4RBs?
Yeah.
And how did
Yeah.
you join that together to develop this synergistic technology?
Yeah, that's a great with Jake. That's where Jake is who introduced me to energetic medicine. So that was, again, when I was telling you that I came into 2010, and he went, by meeting Jake, they already had a background from years and years in energetic medicine. And so I put the geometry and the energetic medicine together, because I saw that the correlation is that I can go down and research. And I wasn't looking, because I was late in life, I wasn't looking to become an expert, or I'm not an expert on sacred geometry. There's many more people that have, way more expertise. But because of my background business wise, I'm more pragmatic than that. I look for results. So I was very much driven by, I want to know how that affects my cells, because health was becoming really important to me then, but now I'm 70. So at 70, it's even more important to me. So that's what drives me. And that's why the research, some of the best years I've ever had in my life were those 5 years in research. It started to tip into manifestation. I built a facility that blocked out all negative energy and dirty electricity, and I did my testing. So I was really just driven by the health aspect. And I had all kinds of people visit. I was using these developed frequencies to see how they affected us. And it was exciting to me, the results we were getting. So it wasn't, again, designed at all for the bees. But what I realized by getting involved with people's human health and people in general, because people, unlike animals, reptiles, and insects, are way more complex. So we have a lot of issues with emotions and mental issues, where they're cleaner that way. So I thought, okay, because of my background, I said, if the more I go into the human or the medical aspect, the more I'm going to have more problems and heat and things attacking me. So I elected to when I heard about the bees, I thought, well, I'll go in that way, because I'll get a cleaner result, cleaner as to what I'm looking for. And then hopefully then the people can pick up on it. And so that's what I elected to do. I was hesitant, because I knew going back into this, I was going to be like super busy, and I was so enjoying just doing research and dropping out. It was a great dropout for me. And so then I was convinced to go into it, and it was through COVID that I put the business plan together on how I would go about it. I was doing tests with the beekeepers, because I had the time to do all that, and then they were open to it. They weren't open in the beginning, beekeepers at all, especially commercial beekeepers, very skeptical.
Yes.
And I managed to break through all that. I'm speeding up and go and did my comparisons and tests. And then we did our 3-year study, and we have our publications coming out. So that was great, but it allowed me to then think, well, wait a minute, I realized in order to really help or protect or save bees, it really is through the beekeepers. They control 96% of all bees. There's very few wild bees out there in the ecology anymore. So I realized in order to turn this around, I've got to work with the beekeepers, and I've got to provide something, economic because beekeepers are struggling to do what they're doing. A lot of them, they're smaller, there's cost involved. And so then I went, the way to go about this would be a mission based. Life has been incredibly good to me to then go out and set this up to where I could go to the public, because I realized the public was more than energetically motivated to help the bees, no matter which way you turn. And so I thought, well, if I can go out there and give them a way to support what I'm doing, to then give it to the beekeepers, that would be a match. And so that's where that came about in that 2001. And then I started for bees about 4 years ago. And then we've just gone on the campaign with just handing out cells to beekeepers and then realizing food sources. I just delivered today a bunch of seeds out to Canadian beekeepers for like food sources. We give that. We replace queens to an extent. So we realized it's got to be a full package. And it's a long answer, but that's how I got myself turned from the human element into the bees. But along the way, it all tripped in because I sent it to food labs, the PureWave Cell, and we can talk more about the PureWave Cell and show what that is.
Yeah, exactly.
Sent it to a food lab, and we found that just food that you're getting from the grocery store that has E. coli in it or Listeria and stuff, because it's common. That's why you have indigestion sometimes. Is that it was neutralizing these different pathogens, and we tested up to 15, up between 40 to 100%. So it was like sound canceling headphones. One frequency was canceling the other, because of course, all pathogens and parasites are just frequencies, as well as all viruses. We know that a virus is a frequency because that's what it is, because we're in physics. So the best way to counter that is with a counter frequency. That would be the way to go. So that's what this is all about.
Before we get back to the episode, we want to share something we've personally been experimenting with. Annie and I are not smokers, never have been. But over the past year, through conversations and interviews, especially with Dr. Brian Artist, we kept hearing more around tobacco-derived compounds being explored in ways that are very different from how most people traditionally think about tobacco. That curiosity is what led us to a company called Tolavita, and specifically their anti-smoke patches. These are small patches designed to be worn on the skin. They're made with a tobacco-derived extract and essential oils, and they come in several different strengths, which is what made them interesting to us from an experimentation standpoint. What we liked right away was the simplicity. You choose a strength, apply the patch, and then simply pay attention to how your body responds. No routines to manage, no big lifestyle changes, just observation. Over the last several months, we have tried different options and taken note of what we noticed personally. Everyone's experience is different, but for us, it was enough to keep exploring and learning more. I personally noticed a difference in my pain, inflammation, and my weight. Tolavita currently offers multiple strengths, including the original 21, 14, and 7 milligram square patches, and now the newer, smaller ones, the round patches, and they come in 3 and 7 milligram strengths. I'm really liking these as I can wear multiple patches at a time. I like putting the 3 milligram patches on my knees and my hips. They've really helped with my mobility. Tolavita also offers other wellness-focused patches, but these anti-smoke patches are the ones that originally caught our attention. If you're curious and want to look into them yourself, you can visit shop.tolavita.com/wellness-superheroes, or you can check the link in our show notes for a direct link to the anti-smoke patches. Make sure you use our code wellness-superheroes at checkout for a 10% discount. As always, this isn't medical advice, just something we personally explored and wanted to share with all of you. All right, back to the conversation.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I read that study, and I'll include that in the show notes as well for those of you who want to have a squeeze. But you guys have got amazing resources and amazing evidence to show already what you're talking about, Brent. This is awesome.
Yeah, because we need that. The public deserves that. The beekeepers deserve that. It's not just, you don't want to go and say, well, we're just guessing. We can do that in the beginning, which we did, and we did our testing and going through comparing hive to hive. But in the next video, we'll show on the the PureWave Cell. That will have some beekeepers talking about the divisions of what we did and what happened there. It'll also talk about the food sources. It'll also talk more about what the PureWave Cell is and what it can do for us as humans, which is amazing because it will clean our food. It will take away energetic frequencies you have to keep it close, within about 12 inches or a foot of you, but it'll allow everybody to see what it looks like. And, whether you sleep with it under your pillow or you clean your food with it or your water, or, it's got all these benefits because, like in that video, if your new cells every day, you and I have roughly 10 billion cells are replaced in the body. Those cells will only know the new environment you introduce them to. It'd be like be like you're in an abusive family, and then all of a sudden you're taken into a really great family and it's all love and everything. That's all you know. That's where you're at that point. So where you wear is where you wear. So this is kind of what this does for you health-wise.
And that's your main product, right? The PureWave Cell?
Yes. And then the byproduct, though, we can't ignore this. The hives that were so healthy because it builds up the immune system of the bees, the honey was spectacular in volume that was coming out of there. So we only take the honey out of the cells, or out of the hives that have the PureWave Cell, and we purchase at now fair market value. So we always pay almost $1 more than anybody per pound will pay a beekeeper for that honey, premium honey, but it has to come from there. And then I take it and I bottle that and I cream it. So we don't heat it. It's never heated. It stays raw, and we cream it. And then I expose it to and we'll talk about this with the honey. I have an instrument that the PureWave Cell actually came out of a bigger instrument called the chrysalis. It's a chrysalis energizer, which is a huge, it looks like a little Ark of the Covenant. It has spinning cylinders that take all these magnets, and I can construct the frequency exactly what I want, and then we treat the honey with that as well. So we have this energized honey. Yeah.
I can't wait to get some honey.
Well, and don't get too excited, because I know that you guys only ship within the US. Is that right? US and Canada? Or just US?
Yeah. The problem with Australia and not Europe, we can ship it to Europe, but then again, you get into such a hassle for the customer. But in Australia, they don't allow any honey to come in. So it's unfortunate because they just don't allow outside honey to come in. Yeah. So that is something that we can't control. But we sell it by the case, like a lot. In Canada, United States. The people have picked up on it over the years, and they reoccur by the case because they eat it. That you don't put it in your coffee as a sweetener because you break it down. They're eating this honey, raw. Right?
Yeah. Oh, wow. So for health reasons, yeah.
For health. Oh, and well, honey, you guys know that honey is great, but this is on another level, right? So we call it PureWave energized honey is what it is. And we can show a little video on that, but I feel bad for the audiences that can't get it, depending on where they live, just because, the way the world works. So
that's okay.
Yeah.
So
which video are we starting next, Brent?
We'll figure out how to get you something.
Let's do the PureWave video, because that'll start to tell them, we've been talking about this PureWave Cell. Well, this will then clue them into what we've been talking about.
Awesome. All right, I'll cue it up.
Welcome to the world of inventions for energy medicine. I'm Bee Broda. According to the Canadian Association of Professional Apiculturists, Canada lost almost 50% of their bee population in 2022. Researchers at the University of Waterloo feel insecticides are compromising the bee's immune system. Dr. Magda Havis, Professor Emerita at Trent University School of the Environment, believes magnetic fields also play an important role in the health and wellness of the honeybee population.
We did some research at Trent University where we were studying the effects of radiofrequency radiation on the bees. We had some beehives at a farm and exposed them to current household items that we have that emit wireless radiation. One of the things we noticed is that the bees started coming out of the hive very, very quickly.
You look at their behavior, they're all just quite happily, they're not running around, they're kind of very settled, they're fanning, they're keeping the place cool and protecting. Because these ones are running up and down at the entrance. The sounds here is not normal.
Dr. Havas is participating in a long-term research study on the use of geomagnetic fields to enhance insect and human immune systems and negate the effects of environmental pollution that may be causing the collapse of the honeybee population. This research is based upon a geometric array of 12 high-intensity magnets that are encased inside a hard enclosure to create a PureWave cell. The opposing polarities of the magnets create a spiral vortex that emanate outwards in all directions. This spiral pattern can be observed with magnetic viewing film. Liquid ferrofluid placed in a dish on top of the PureWave cell shows the invisible, evenly spaced magnetic lines rising upwards. This is an internal view of the magnets. A PureWave cell can be used to control the growth of pathogens. The vortex suppresses bacterial infestation. Spores grown in a petri dish that were not exposed to the magnet shows a proliferation of fungal growth. A study has been completed at Pathogenia food laboratories to determine the efficiency to reduce pathogens in food. Brewer's yeast, E. coli, Staphylococcus, and Listeria were added to meat and fruit and then treated for 5 minutes on the magnetic disc. Ground chicken and raspberries were chosen for inoculation. This study demonstrates 3 forms of Listeria were not reduced in the chicken, but showed almost a 50% reduction in the raspberries. Surprisingly, 1 form of brewer's yeast grew 50% faster in the meat, while another was reduced a similar amount in the fruit. The various forms of E. coli were eliminated in the raspberries. And all forms of Staphylococcus have been significantly reduced. When you immerse food inside a PureWave, there are many examples of how it can prolong the shelf life. Here, cauliflower remains fresh after several days, while unexposed control samples show signs of food spoilage. Research on honey is carried out here.
The first year we had 10 magnets and we were quite happy with it. Last fall we ended up with 30 magnets in the 1 bee yard.
In this yard here, there's about 30 hives. This yard did not get the discs. And when I came in to unpack the hives, half the yard was dead, and the half that survived, there were barely any bees, and they were not looking good at all. And now in this yard, we wintered 30 hives in here. All 30 got the magnetic disc. When I unpacked it, all 30 were alive and overflowing with bees to the point where I had to split almost every hive in this yard. But it's swarming because they've run out of room. Like, it's just a super strong hive.
Dr. Havas feels that the magnets are improving the immune system of the honeybee as they move through the PureWave magnetic field while foraging for nectar in the farms and forest. Many beekeepers have great success with the magnets, not only having a healthy hive, but they have found an increase in the yield of honey. Education plays an important role with the company that produces the magnets. They organize workshops called 4RBs to teach a new generation of potential beekeepers how to plant wildflower seeds in open pastures to help support the health and wellness of our insect pollinators. For more information on how you can help save the bees, visit 4rbs.com.
Wow. I'm amazed, I'm rapt actually, that you guys did the study with, or Magda did the study. I've known of her stuff with EMF health and effects for a long time. But to show that delineation of how the household appliances affect the behavior and the nature of bees and their health.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's and of course when we talk about just what you said, when we talk about the bees, like why it's so important for us to look at the bees, it directly relates to us. We're connected to the same thing. So how are those household things affecting us as well, right?
Yeah.
So they're like the canary in the coal mine. The bees,
Yeah.
when people always say, why is it so important with the bees? And if we lose the bees, because it's a direct relation back to us. That's
Yes.
why, not
Right.
just from food source, which of course we understand the pollination, the food source, but it's more than that. It's an indication of what we're doing that's harming us. That's why we have so many people, what I call the walking sick. Most people that are walking around, they're not really sick, but they're just sick all the time.
Right.
They have something's wrong. This is wrong. And that's why I didn't go down the human path for trying to fix things with humans, because like I said, it's not just physical, it's emotional and it's mental, because of all the things we're doing and subject to social media, 5G, our food source, all these things. So where do you start? And then what are you going to be blamed for or not blamed for? So that to me, I've never liked a setup that's a failure. So why not go in and go, hey, the bees are doing this and it's doing this and it seems to do that, and let's do the ones without het and then the ones that do have it, and let's see the difference, and then let's do it all over the place and get it consistent. We're doing this, and that way I know that then people go, you know what, that I can see that, I can relate to that. And because those were commercial beekeepers, that's why there were so many cells, and those 2 yards were only 3 miles apart. So in other words, those bees were feeding on the same thing. It's like, it wasn't like that one was in, 100 miles away from the other. That was a yard. That was the same beekeepers that had 30 hives in one area and 30 in another. And we just compared them over the thing. And that's what Thomas went out and showed the difference, right? That was the problem they were having, and so many replacements.
Well, that's such
So
a good control group, because it's the same, you've got almost everything the same, right? Except that.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And then go to other beekeepers and do the same over here and over here. I always get them to compare. Now, it doesn't always work out, because there's, as beekeepers, and this, Annie, and then there's other subjects like, hey, what's the food sources? What other things are coming on? But it seemed to really help with the varroa mites, because not killing the varroa mites, but what it's doing is, just like with us, when you're really healthy, you're not getting the same as unhealthy people. So the varroa mites they're going after the weaker bees because of the immune system, right? So why, instead of trying to treat after, just like us with humans, we're all sick, we have flus and stuff. So now we're doing all these treatments. But what about the person that's not getting the flu? So I just went through that. I don't know in your area, we just gone through flu season and all the stuff and sickness here. And so all around me, including my wife, it picked up, a little bit of flu and stuff, and we're still together, but I didn't get it. And I haven't had it, and I'm touching wood now, and I haven't had it for years and years and whatever. But I do have a regiment on my health situation where I deal with frequency mats, and I deal with all supplementations, because I'm a big believer in minerals, about getting minerals in the body, right?
Yeah.
There was a wonderful book, and I don't know if you gals have seen it. It's called Dead Doctors Don't Lie. So
Yes.
if you can look it up, and it's all about, and what really caught my ear, and this is like 15 years ago, was the guy said to me, he said, what's the average age of a medical doctor, like a traditionally formed, what age do they live to? And I was like, I don't know, like 65, 70. He said, 55. 55 is the average year that they pass away. And I said, well, that's not a great example of anything, to be dying on an average of 55.
Nutrition or anything like that in medical school. Yeah.
So then, and of course, the whole thing about the book is, how do you get minerals in the body, right? And if you do that, it makes sense, because the cells are going, there it is, there's the food, there's the things I need. Because what is a supplement or a vitamin? It's just a frequency as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's where homeopathic medicine comes. If you actually look at any of homeopathic tinctures, there's nothing in there. What it's done is they suffocate to the same vibration. That's how they treat things, right? So these things are all out there, but they fascinated to me, where I wanted to dig in and actually use them for myself. So I'm a big believer in living this, and this just came out of it, but how do you extend it out into a hive or so forth? And this is the way we've done it.
Everyone's talking about electrolytes right now. And a lot of people are reaching for things like LMNT. And look, I get it. People are tired, depleted, cramping, foggy. They know hydration matters. But here's what most people don't realize. A lot of popular electrolyte drinks are still built around flavoring, artificial sweeteners, citric acid, natural flavors, and they focus heavily on sodium while completely missing the bigger picture. Because hydration isn't just salt and water, it's minerals, a full spectrum. That's why I personally use Aussie Trace Minerals. This isn't a flavored drink mix. It's liquid ionic trace minerals sourced from Australian ocean water and naturally concentrated. That means you're getting over 70 natural occurring minerals, not just sodium and potassium, but magnesium, chloride, and trace elements your cells can actually recognize and use. There's no sugar, no artificial sweeteners, no citric acid, no fillers. Nothing to irritate your gut, nothing to spike your insulin, and nothing to hijack your nervous system. And because the minerals are an ionic liquid form, they absorb efficiently at the cellular level, which is what hydration is actually about. They also offer different options depending on what you need. Pure electrolyte drops, clean electrolyte powder that includes magnesium L-threonate, supporting muscles and cognitive function, lightly infused versions using real essential oils, not synthetic junk, and even a magnesium and trace mineral spray for topical use when your body needs direct support. This matters because modern diets, tap water, stress, and EMF exposure all increase mineral loss. And you can drink liters of water and still feel dehydrated if minerals are missing. So instead of masking depletion with flavor, this actually replenishes what's been lost. If you want cleaner hydration without the additives, head to AussieTraceMinerals.com. Real minerals, real hydration, no junk. Use Caterol 10 at the checkout for 10% off.
So can you tell us some of the benefits that humans have told you that are around these devices?
PureWave Cell? Yeah. So the feedback we get back consistently is inflammation, things like inflammation. So because that's a big part by using it. And as you saw in the video, it's not very big. The cell is, the size of your hand, but those magnets are so powerful. Their neodymium magnets, it's 48,000 Gauss of strength that's in that. Each magnet has 22,000 Gauss. And what that does is it's measured to 12 inches. After that, it starts dissipating. It can't go on forever. So by keeping it close to the body, we have entire groups of practitioners that use it for gut health. They use it for over the gut. And what it does, because what is mainly gut health problems is pathogens and parasites, right? Whether you're getting them from your pets, they're out eating things, or, then you're sleeping with them or whatever. You're getting these pathogens and parasites. So they use it. It really helps for that. That's a great, and the reason is we get so much feedback because the practitioners that deal with that are, and we met them at health shows, and that was, again, something we bumped into. The other thing is people that sleep with it under their pillow for things such as headaches or problems of ringing in the ears and so forth and all this, which again is our environment from Wi-Fi and all that kind of thing. Now, not everybody's affected by Wi-Fi, but lots of people are. So that, and then of course, people using it for their food, for gut health and so forth. And then it tripped over into their pets. We have a whole bunch of pet testimonials of pets because they're glued to it. They'll go and they'll sleep on it, or they'll do this or they'll do that. So people picked up on that when they were sending about their sick animals and dogs and so forth. And cats just love to sleep on it, and they'll go anywhere where it is. And so all this kind of thing, we get it for, what was another thing that we had? A really weird one that I had at two different places, one in the States and one Canada, is people wrote in, and one it was two boys. One was 8 and the other was 12, and they suffered from nonstop nightmares every night. They had nightmares, right? And they wrote to us and said the nightmares went away they put it under the pillow. But that was weird. I mean, it's just, I don't even know how to correlate that, but I got it from two different places, right?
Wow.
So, and I'm just thinking because it was taking away, whatever's interfering was affecting those boys, that was affecting their brain only from just where the environment was or so forth.
So I find fascinating because, like, with everything that's going on right now, people are taking this for parasites and this for fungus and this for viruses and this for that and this. So it's all these different specific things, and people are spending so much money on supplements and stuff for different things. And this seems to be one thing that could possibly, handle all of that. I guess I'll just say
Well,
that.
and here, I'll explain. So I don't just take it at face value as to why it's working and so forth. So let's go into this. So and anybody can look this up. When you look up PEMF, pulse electric magnetic frequency, okay, that's where all these earth mats or mats come from and so forth. But let's discuss where it comes from. In the 50s, when they first sent astronauts into space, what happened is their whole bodies went into complete seizure ache mode. So they went, what is this? They realized by being outside of the Earth's magnetic field, there's a problem. And so what they did is they did massive studies. So NASA did these massive studies on PEMF. And the research is through the roof. So and generally it's from 0 to 30 hertz earth frequency. But when you start dealing in these lower earth frequencies, the effect of health that it does on the body is undeniable, because the research is 60 years old. It's been done but they did it for reasons because they had to. Now, bone fractures, circulation, all this kind of things is what this helps. So the PureWave cell is going to help with that because it's dealing with that. It's dealing with low-end earth frequency. Why? Because those are earth magnets. The magnets is what's generating it. And what's interesting, those magnets the difference between a regular magnet and a neodymium magnet is the neodymium magnet that's in the PureWave cell will hold its strength for up to 20 years, where a regular magnet might be 4 or 5, and then it starts to denigrate down. So that PureWave cell, the value in it is it's good today, it's good 19 years from now, right?
Wow.
So it has value, right? It isn't just a couple of years and then you got to throw it out. It's not something you throw out. You can put it in your fridge, not in the freezer because it's too cold in there, and not like hot, but in your fridge, and you can sit stuff on there, the fish you bring home. So it has multiple values that can use, because that leads to your health. People say, well, yeah, I'm cleaning my food, but what else does it do for my body? Well, no, that's the start. Because if that's going in your body, then that causes this and causes that, right? So it's a domino effect, which we don't think about on a day-to-day basis. And I understand that because everybody's on fire. It's enough for everybody just to make it through the day. So I get that they're not connecting it, but I have the time to connect it. I want to connect it, right? So, I'm past, people are in chaotic lives, particularly in their 20s, 30s, and 40s, raising kids and doing stuff. And then, it's going crazy for them. So I wanted to be able to do something where they could count on it and not have to say, well, is this real or not? And get them to settle down to use it, to calm down enough to use these things, and they'll be amazed what happens to them, health-wise.
Yeah, wow. Well, Lisa just mentioned that the practitioners who use it for parasites, that they say that no binder is required as well. So that's really wild. That's really
we just have and again, where this came from, we went to do it was in Las Vegas 2 years ago, and I was hesitant to go, but I was convinced to go down, because of the honey and so forth, and because I don't really like to tout it as a medical device. And but when we were there, of course, it's all practitioners and it's all energy workers, and so they started grabbing the cell and stuff. And we were there for 4 or 5 days. So within the second day, they were coming back and saying, do you know we did this with it? And this was, so they started telling me, like, we started doing this, and I'm telling you it's doing this, because they already knew what they were looking for, and they knew what they wanted to try it for. And so I was in this booth where we were talking about the honey. And then by day 3, I had 2 or 3 of the practitioners touting it to everybody about what it's doing, so, but from their own experience, and so that led to that's why they get them from us and use it in their practice.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I mean, I was, other than, being excited for the benefit, for the potential benefit for us, I was really, when I first heard of you guys as a beekeeper, I was wrapped beyond ecstatic, because as a beekeeper, I've been concerned about the welfare of our bees, and I know that how intricate they are into the survival of humanity and all that sort of stuff. So it kept me up at nights, and so I'm glad that that Brent, you and Jake have been on it and have already found a solution to support the health proliferation of our bees.
So tell him about your
Well,
experience, your recent experience, Annie, with the
Yeah,
bees.
so I
oh,
did
good.
a
Yeah.
post. I'd opened the front door to check. There was a parcel that came, and then on my front porch, I saw a bee with pollen on her legs, and she was like slow moving and didn't even, and that's not the first bee that I've seen where it's like, what, you're not meant to be here. Like, why aren't you making your way home? And looking so sluggish and tired. I've seen bees randomly at the beach of all places. I live really close
Yeah.
to the beach, so it's like, you're not meant to be where you are. So something environmentally, and I believe, especially I personally have observed since the 5G towers have gone in, that our bees' quality of life has significantly dwindled.
Yeah, no, and it definitely, you're not alone. We've seen it everywhere. But what I thought might be interesting for you, Annie and Joni, because, as a beekeeper, why don't we hear a little bit from some of the beekeepers we have? And they constantly are coming in. It's so different, the experiences they're having, because we have beekeepers all over the world now, like between Australia, but also Africa and Europe, so it's in different environments. But we have a little clip or a few clips of whatever we want to bring up, showing what the beekeepers have to say about their experience of using the PureWave Cell, or being like going through with their bees in certain instances. So they're giving their feedback in different ways. So if you'd like to see some of that, that might interest people checking in.
Yeah, thanks, Brent.
Yep.
Hi, Brent from 4RBs. With all the success we're having this year, we just would love to show you and let you hear from our beekeepers. And a huge shout out to our 1,000 Bee a Month Club members. You are absolutely amazing. Thank you. Take a look at what your support has done and the millions of bees and wild pollinators you have helped to save. We've never thought it would get this big, but what we're very humble and thankful for is all your continued support. And the bees thank you too. We are just so blessed to hear from our customers on how the PureWave Cell has been changing and helping their lives every day. Just listen to what they have to say.
At the beginning of the season, Terry gave us one of the 4RB cells, and we put that cell right on top of our queen excluder. And what we've noticed is it has just exploded with energy, and the bees have just become stronger and stronger, and we've been opening up the frames, and there's just more and more brood happening. All the frames were full of honey, and this last time, maybe about 2 weeks ago, we opened up the hive and went into each one of the frames, and we started to notice eggs, and there was brooding eggs inside. And I haven't put a queen in there. I ordered a queen, anticipating that we were going to have to do an actual split of the white and gray hive, but naturally we have a queen.
So in this yard that has the discs, they were just overflowing with bees. We ended up splitting almost every hive in this yard. So we made up new hives out of these hives. So it's just amazing that, not only were we able to split every hive in here, but to get a good crop on top of that is rare.
So we have these three have the PureWave cells. What we notice is that the ones with the PureWave cells, they're just so much calmer. We didn't have any attack us, and you can feel like they're not anxious. Where the other hives, they tend to be more on guard. These three produce more honey over the course of the summer. They were just working bees. So yeah, they're just a nice treat to work with.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Annie, we could show you, we could go on for 10 minutes. We thought, well, how long are we going to go, right? So there's other ones, for example, Larry, we just got back from Larry, we've been with him 3 years now. this year is the first year he doesn't have to replace anything, no queens, everything, like it's the best ever. So again, year after year, because queens only have like 2 years or certain things, but we've been working with him. I think he has maybe 15 hives or so, but he sent in a video going like, this is where the best, like I'm getting there. He can go in this after winter, because we have winter where he is. He's going in, everything's operating and working, and that's the first time he's ever had that, where you're not two hives are done or whatever. So over time it gets better, as long as they follow the programs and doing what they're doing. Now again, do we have beekeepers going that something didn't happen, it died? Yeah, we still have hives dying with PureWave cells in them, but it's for other reasons. I mean, there's it's not a miracle to fix whatever the bees are up against. Like they could have a food source, or a bear could be doing something, or there could be something over, or they could have in one case in the States, like a 5G tower was put in more, and two others were, so there's constant things that they're up against. And so I like to put it out there, we're there to support, but we're not touting that every single thing we do, it just works out perfect, because it doesn't. But
No. But you guys have, so the way you've got it set up, and I've applied. I'm so excited for a beekeeper program. So do you want to tell us a bit about that and how that works? Because there's a control hive, and then there's obviously the hive that gets the PureWave cell, and then what the beekeepers report. So do you want to share a bit about that?
Yeah, on our website, if you go there, I think it's under Contact Us, I believe. So when you click on that, you go down, you'll see there's a beekeeper program. And then you just click on that, and it'll start laying out to you all the different aspects about how to apply. And when you apply, we go through the program. We also look at the beekeeper to make sure, that they're set up to handle the bees and doing so forth, like what they're doing. And then we start out to get the PureWave cell out to them, or it could be two in the cases, depending on what they're doing on the control hive, or it could be more. And then we put them in a form where you can come in. I think it's once a month. Yeah, it's once a month. We have the beekeeper forum on Zoom, where all the beekeepers come together. And that's even the one in Africa and so forth. They come together, talk about what's going on, so that they're getting that not just locally, but from around the world, what's going on, other solutions, what other things we can do. In your area would be a different food source than here. So what we do in that case is, if you are going out in particular seeds or what you're doing there, we provide revenue for that. We don't give the seeds, because you can't transport seeds. If it's closer to where I am, I actually provide the seeds. It depends on the area. We want to get into more of, and also nuke replacement or queen replacement, depending on the severity of what's there. So it's all in that program. And we're just getting started. We want to get larger and larger, and then we want to go into research into the queens and so forth, strengthening them up at source. That'll be my next thing, because then the queens coming in, I'll deal with them, but we have to get to a certain level before I can start getting involved, with where the queens and nukes are coming from. That'll happen, but that's where we are now. So you just contact us if you're a beekeeper, and then our program, it'll be looked at and set up in your case as to get those down to you, to get the cell down to you. Now, as you want to develop and work with us, we'll just keep doing that with you.
Yeah, awesome. Well, I've applied. I think it's on the website. It's under Get Involved, and you've
Yes,
even
get
got
involved. Get involved. Yes,
you've even
sorry.
got the article with Magda Havas, and that study with the 4 strains of bacteria on the food and all that sort of stuff. So there's so much in the way of resources and information on your website. And yeah, I'm a super huge fan. I'm obsessed with you guys. So thanks
Well, thank you. Get
thanks for
involved. Thanks
existing.
for correcting that. Yeah, thanks on that. It is called Get Involved. I don't go there very often myself, but it's get involved, and it's well set up. And thank you to the team we have that do all of this. As I'm not by any means alone. We have wonderful people that work with us, and we're still a fairly new company, and 4 years is relatively new. Now, the research goes back, we're talking 15 years or more, maybe more. But but beekeepers like yourself, this will lead us to new holy ground, because this is where we're going to start to, as we've eventually, and that's what I'm looking at this year. That's what I want to tell you, is that I thought to myself, okay, we're ticking along here and this is working well. And people like yourself are coming on, which is so valuable. But this year I'm looking at going to another level. I'm working on a system where I can go to, which is a major campaign out where we want to be able to support 5,000 beekeepers and give out 50,000 cells. So in other words, radically rack this up to where they're radically available and the public will support it through the initiative we're going to do. So I'm in the midst of this. It's done before. It's already been done with water and trees. A gentleman by the name of Mr. Beast has done these campaigns with providing water or providing trees. Well, the bees are even above that, like as far as the public support and what they'd like to do. So I want to put that together so I can bring in massive donations and pledges, and then I want to use all that money in a nonprofit to then get this out in a massive way. So let's say if you wanted to grow to 30 hives or so forth, you just get whatever you need. It's provided for you because the public has got this amount of money coming in, and then we can get this thing to a whole new level. And that's going to be happening this year.
Wow, that's awesome. Yes, cleaning the seas, that's another one. I've seen those initiatives as well. And they're changing the environment as we know it for the better. And so, yeah, I'm so on board supporting you guys for that, Brent. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I'd like to get, I would like to be able to say, let's say you decided you wanted to do 100 acre, 200 acres of seeding in certain areas. I could just provide all the resources for that. Just provide the money. On top of that, we have people now contacting us that don't have any children or family that would like to leave their land frozen for locked in for bees and so forth. So that land would be locked up. So this is coming in too. And these are the ways we can make big changes. Yeah.
That's awesome. Wow. Jody, do you have any other questions? I think Brent, you guys have been amazing. We'll wrap up so that you guys can get off. But Jody, have you got anything else?
I was muted. Sorry about that. There's one more video we didn't play, I don't think, the honey one, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you'd like. Yeah, absolutely.
If you are a honey connoisseur, you'll want to experience PureWave Energized honey. It comes from the open pastures of the Grey Highlands, located in southern Ontario, Canada. The unique blend of nectar from wildflowers are a favorite for honeybees that pollinate open fields, farms, and forests within the Greater Golden Horseshoe Greenbelt. These bees produce one of the finest honeycombs in the world and are now under great stress. Pesticides are weakening the bee's immune system. It contributes to the growth of deadly pathogens. But there's a solution to that problem. This PureWave Cell. It generates a quantum force field of spiral magnetic energy. It has been scientifically proven to deactivate pathogens. When placed inside a beehive, apiaries report an abundance of honey and healthy bees that survive Canada's frigid winters. The honey that comes from PureWave hives is raw, creamed, unpasteurized, and then energized using a special patented quantum technology. PureWave honey is a premium private labeled product packaged in a licensed facility that meets FDA and Canadian Food Inspection Agency regulations. It is then shipped to warehouses in Canada and the USA for further processing using the chrysalis energizer. The honey is bathed in the special frequencies originating from rotating neodymium magnets. The chrysalis energizer is manufactured here near Toronto, Canada. This is where the secret ingredient of a unique patented quantum technology was developed and brought to reality. It was originally developed as a Class 1 medical device.
What we're really dealing with here is magnetism into a geometric form and then putting motion to it. So what we have in the instrument is a very specifically cut neodymium magnets, very powerful, set into a sacred geometry shape, 12 of them inside. Then we put this into a situation into 3D. Then we place it where there's 5 of these placed in sequence in here.
Magnetic viewing film displays the pattern of the magnets that pulse the magnetic field as it rotates inside the 3 cylinders. The field intensity increases proportionally with the frequency that is selected. Years of research went into testing the device to determine the ideal frequencies and duration of exposure to fully saturate the honey. A magnetic probe attached to an oscilloscope shows the dominant frequency and the unique shape of the quantum wave. Electrography can be used to visualize the effect of the rotating magnetic field. A vial of honey is placed on the Energizer. The corona discharge shows the amount of electrical conductivity of the raw honey. After energization, the entire content of the vial has become more conductive to electron flow. The electrographic image of the honey is used on the logo.
We wanted to then draw from what we've configured into the instrument and put it into a standalone unit, and this is what we use to go in the beehives.
A PureWave cell will emit a corresponding frequency and magnetic field if you rotate it. If you move the cell over your body, it will absorb your bioelectric field. The meter shows over 2,000 volts per meter emanating from inside the cell. Both the PureWave cell and the honey are sold directly to the consumer online. And you will find their products in stores that feature apiary products too. They are manufactured by 4R Bees, a company that provides a solution to beekeepers that want to maintain healthy, disease-free hives. Connoisseurs all over the world appreciate their energized nectar from nature.
Wow. So did you develop that as well? Did you, the chrysalis, Brent? That was you?
Actually, that was before the PureWave cell. That is the mother load. That I don't get into that because we don't provide that to the beekeepers. That's what I did all the testing with people and in my own lab and so forth. That is an incredibly effective healing instrument. It's actually a medical instrument. It's classified, but I elected not to go down the treatment sources of using that, and I still use it a lot. I mean, I use it a lot, and it takes away it took away all my allergies. I still don't wear glasses and so forth. So the thing is I know what it does. I didn't go down that path that was a business model. So I decided to use it for the honey. I thought, well, you know what? That would be a great thing to put for the honey. And then I could have my own unique honey that nobody else could say they have that particular thing. And I could put that word energized on it.
So I have a question. So in the beginning of that video, you were talking about the pesticides, right? And it sounded like it deactivated the pesticides, like it basically neutralized them.
No, I wouldn't say that, although that honey that I get from, I don't get honey from everywhere, like not from all beekeepers. Like, for example, in Canada towards the Niagara Falls region, there's a lot of grapes and wineries there. And I won't get honey from there because there's a lot of pesticides and so forth. So the Grey Highlands that I get the honey from, that is government tested. There's nothing in that honey to begin with. Like I already know that's clean honey. So when I energize it, what I'm doing is just a corona discharge. I'm just taking it to where it's very integratable to the body. But no, I haven't cleaned. Okay. Although if there was a like a pathogen in there, it would certainly affect that. But in fairness, that's tested even before I do that. So that's how we go about that. But I wanted that because I know energetically it will make that honey so that when it goes into the body, again, back to what I said about vitamins, it's getting it into the body when you eat that honey. So it's just a higher quality, and what I consider one of the highest quality honey that you can get on the market, because we don't heat, the way we go through the process of it too. Right.
Well, I'm also thinking about, how would this be like with farmers and ranchers and like for their animals and, their fields and stuff. I would think that would be an application too, unless I'm thinking too big. I don't know.
Well, you actually, you actually are right on. Where it would really is really effective is in the milk industry for
Oh,
milk and stuff,
yeah.
because here they throw out all kinds of milk because there's different things. Now, I know it would be very effective for that. Problem is you're getting into government stuff and boards and things. So as we know, it doesn't necessarily mean when you've got something good or a solution that works in that world. And
Mhm.
I know that from a corporate background.
Right.
So I haven't, if I would say that if I was maybe 30 years younger, 30 or 40 years younger, I might go down a route of showing and go through all the hoops and holas and, and all that to get there to where that would help. But right now I've picked my field because you have to pick you pick your thing
Absolutely.
and you have to stay in your lane because
Yeah.
what you just said, it could affect multiple things in
Right.
multiple and do so many good things. But,
Yeah,
I've kind of run out of time for where I
and
I can do it, right?
farmers. I live in an area that's farms and ranches and all that kind of stuff, and I'm just
Yeah.
thinking, oh my gosh, they would love this, So
Yeah, no, again, it's just a matter of picking your
exactly,
mission and
yeah.
then, because you're gonna go through all kinds of problems, just even like, you have skeptical beekeepers or just like what we've gone through to just get people. Now, beekeepers embrace it because as Thomas said, the only reason we elected to do it with you is there was no work involved and no cost. So it was like, it didn't provide that they had to do work and they didn't have to spend any money, and they were convinced that it wouldn't hurt the bees. So
Right.
that's how I got started. But boy, if it had been any kind of work, I would have had a hell of a time just even getting started.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's like anything. You have to like you can have something that works and have something that's so amazing or such a good mission, but you're still going to have to go through the hoops and fight the powers to be and all the world we live
Right.
in, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, I was just thinking about individual farmers and ranchers that probably were going to well, let's see what happens if I just use one of those or something.
yeah. Well, and just lastly, would you like to see the lab? I don't know if Lisa can bring it up, but I kept talking about the lab I developed, and you'll smile when you see it, but it was so effective because, again, it allowed me to be in an environment that blocked out all distraction. And I brought the geometry inside, and it tipped me into so many things that we could have a whole show as to what happened in that, but I'm not sure if Lisa's got it or it's
She's bringing it
there.
up. Yeah.
But we can just show the audience a bit of what I was talking, and it was I had to do this from scratch. It was a whole thing in itself just to have the environment to do this in
Yeah.
was before I even got to the PureWave Cell. So
Yeah. I see it. I'll
that
pull
was
it up. This is on your website. This is your lab. This is the one.
yeah.
Okay. I'm glad
Yeah,
we're
well,
going to
this
talk
is
about
the
this
lab
because
that
I
I
was gonna
used.
ask
This is the
about
lab that I used. Yeah, it's I don't know where it's on the website or where it's from, but it's on there. Yeah.
I think it's on under mission, I think, on the website. So yeah,
Yes,
open
that's
up. Here we go.
exactly where it is. Yeah. So
Yeah,
that
wow.
that you can actually see the geometry in there when we were talking about the star tetrahedron flower alive. It's built right into it. Now
Oh,
from the foundation up, it's got DC current coming through up to it. Yeah, that was a whole thing in itself, just getting where that frequency was coming from the ground, right? Through into it. It contains all of the photonic solids. Yeah, and of course, there is your culprit of getting into your design. Each point has a crystal, inverted pyramid crystal that brings up fiber optics, can change the structure of light, sound, so forth. So this is
Wow.
where I was getting into the development of it. So it was a living environment, and it was amazing to be in there, and people would come from all over to be in there. That was, you could play with light frequencies. I was able to convert. You can see there how that's coming up through the crystal and so forth. So
Wow.
I could literally bend and manipulate frequencies. You can see right in the wall. You can see the
Yes.
geometry
that's
right in the wall, right?
cool.
Yeah, and once you're in a living environment, like you can't believe what happens to you, what you feel like.
Yeah, I can imagine. So was this used specifically for, developing something, or was this just a place to inhabit and to
Well,
experience some?
what I did my testing in there because it was such a clean environment, but
Yeah.
no, I got really into the aspects of what it was doing because I didn't know when it was completed if it would do what I thought it would do, which would change my. Remember, we talked about environment, health environment, how you'd feel. The feeling in there was like it's hard to describe how your body would react and feel just by being in there. It wasn't like it was just your body would start to react to it, just like if you were in a bad negative place or whatever, right? And what happened to me, again, a byproduct, I'd go in there. I go in there specifically looking for a breakthrough. I was looking for like, okay, well, how am I going to get those magnets together, or how am I going to do this or do that? And I would go into that building with what was called a strong intention, like an intent. And then I'd put all my attention to that intent. And in there, and it wouldn't happen every time, but I would say 5 out of 10, 10 times, from the bottom of my spine, I'd get a shiver right up my spine like that. And as soon as I got that, it was guaranteed I had the answer I was looking for. I'd get a phone call, somebody would and I mean within days. It was so powerful. And that's why I was so reluctant to leave it, because I've lost that ability, because I was so dialed in to being disconnected from everybody and everything, that I was allowed to do what we all have, what you have and I have, is the ability to manifest whatever you want. And the reason we can't is we're so distracted, me included, right? But I experienced it. I experienced it for a while, and I want to go back to experience it. I want to do this and then go back to that, to live out my life, right? So because that is that is heaven on earth.
I want to go there. Do you do tours?
Or even retreats?
I'm just saying, and they could be recreated down there. I mean, I literally have the blueprint for that, for anybody could do it where they are. They just build this construct. It took me 4 years to get that built into it, because I was going through all of what I was discovering is to put that together, right? And I didn't know if it would work out. I didn't know if it would work out because I had nothing to go by, right? So it's just, I just had to have faith that it would work out,
Oh, wow. Brent,
I'm
what
blown
an
away.
amazing human being you are.
I know. I'm like, oh my God, can we clone you?
No.
Well,
you might have just found a structure to, keep the nasties away and expand your lifespan, so.
Well, get it cooking down where you are. You can, I mean, I just wish these things weren't so expensive, but to get it right, when you do get this environment, I figured, how could it be in a smaller way, or do it in a way, or do it in your home or whatever. But it's kind of like I really had to think that out, and I was not sure that. And then when it did happen, it was like, oh my God, I don't think I'm ever going to do anything or leave this again. It was only through people saying to me, no, you can't have this stuff. You got to go, you got to do something. You can't just keep it to yourself, right?
Yeah, wow. Amazing. Well, Brent and Lisa in the background, thank you both
so much.
We encourage people,
Pleasure.
whether or not you're a beekeeper, check out their website, get involved. They've got, as we've discussed this last hour, Brent's given us so many examples of where you can apply the PureWave Cell and, try some of their honey for me. Let me know how it is. And again, get involved.
Yeah. I'm so excited. I can't wait to get a PureWave Cell, and I can't wait to try the honey. I'm so excited.
Well, somehow we figured to get you the honey, because and plus it tastes amazing. It tastes amazing. Like Manuka honey is such a great honey and stuff, but it doesn't necessarily taste the best. And it's this honey is out of the world tasting. It's like right through the roof, right?
I can imagine.
It can be great gifts for people. It's such a unique.
Yeah, people do it. That's why they buy it by the case, right? Because they're giving it out, in smaller, right? And but. Yeah, no, I mean, what a blessing to be able to just figure some of this out. To me, I just feel blessed that I even am allowed to figure some stuff out. It's just, but you got to go looking for it in nature. But, nature is there.
The right background, the right passion, the right timing, the right ideas, like everything came together perfectly.
Yeah, and I always leave people with this is no matter when you fear things or your anxiety, whatever, understand this: nature always wins. It will always win. Don't you worry about it. No matter how out of whack we get, nature will balance it. You might not like how it does it, but nature always wins.
Yep.
So, that's where you want to be looking for stuff.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Exactly.
Thanks, Brent.
Hey,